y'all, family? I'm your host, Shabari Lamb, and this is another edition of the Liberian Presidential Series. And in this video, we'll be focusing on the 5th Liberian President, Edward James Roye, informally known as EJ Roye, also given the nickname the Lincoln of Liberia because of his forward and revolutionary thinking. So, who was EJ Roye? EJ Roye was born on February 3rd, 1815, to a father by the name of John Roye and a mother by the name of Nancy. His father, John Roye, was a wealthy merchant who was speculated to have escaped slavery in Kentucky to able to go to Newark, Ohio, where EJ Roye was born and raised. This is going to be important as his father, being a wealthy merchant, allowed for him to attend public schools, get a college education. In fact, when his father died in 1829, he was able to inhabit a lot of property and wealth. He was able to attend Oberlin College and in 1832 attended Ohio University in Athens. Another occupation that he was a part of, he served as a barber. It is not known how long he served as a barber, but one of the occupations that he did do before going to Liberia was serving as a barber. When his mother died in 1840 and was buried at the 6th Cemetery, this is when EJ Roye started to get interest in Liberia. And eventually, on May 1st, 1846, EJ Roye leaves America and lands in Monrovia, Liberia. Now, a quick side note was he rejected Haiti as a viable immigration place. It is not speculated as to why. This has just been, speculated and claimed. It could be factually true, but nobody knows why he rejected Haiti as a viable, place to immigrate. But he immigrates to Liberia, and during this time, there's a lot of crises facing. This is 1846. This is a year before Liberia gains independence. So during this time, Liberia is in financial straits. Um, there's only about a couple thousand African Americans against hundreds of thousands of indigenous peoples. So the Vai, the Day, the Gola, the Kisi, the Kru, the Vai. And so they have to wage all of these wars against these groups to make sure that the settlement is secure. You have tensions brewing between the African American immigrants and the American Colonization Society. And there's an intra-community conflict in the black community, and it's going to be with colorism, and it's going to deal with the lighter skinned African Americans, also known as American Liberians, and the darker skinned um, African Americans, American Liberians. And this is important for me to make the disclaimer so we can understand context. Lighter skin at this time is going to be synonymous with mulattoes, and mulattoes at this time, it must be known, does not mean somebody who's strictly half black, half white, biracial the way that we claim it today or what we know of it. Mulatto at this time and in this context means anybody with white blood. So you can be 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, you can be majority white. If you have a significant amount of white blood in you, you are considered a mulatto. That could be mulatto, quadroon, octoroon, hexadecaroon, which is 1/16 black, Mamalok 1/32 black, Sung Mele 1/64 black. If you have, if you have any significant white blood in you, you're considered a mulatto. And this is important because these mulattoes or light-skinned black people have better education, they have more money, and so they're able to get the higher occupations. So they're able to be merchants, they're able to be doctors, they're able to be ship owners and shipbuilders. And as a result, they have more political influence on how the government is ran. An example of this is Joseph Jenkins Roberts being elected the governor of Liberia. And at this time, he's light skinned, he's 1/8 black, he can pass for white. So there's that conflict brewing between the darker skins and the lighter skin. And I'm emphasizing this significant amount of time on this because that's what's going to lead to EJ Roye's demise when he becomes president. But when he gets to Liberia, he's going to really challenge the monopoly that the lighter skinned, black people have. So, yes, there were a couple of black merchants that were able to become successful. The darker skin, what I mean by that, were able to become successful. But really, EJ Roye is going to challenge that. When he's there, he's going to become the wealthiest black man there. He forms a company that is one of the first to fly the Liberian flags. He's able to be part. He's able to be a journalist working at the Liberian Sentinel. He becomes part of the government. He's associate justice. He's able to be a secretary of the treasury. And all of this is going to really inspire confidence in the um, darker skinned population. Now, it must be noted that at this time there are two political parties. Two political parties consisting of the lighter skinned Republican Party, also known as the Pro Administration Party, also known as the Liberian Party. Then you got the other one that's known as the anti-administration political party, also known as the National True Whig Party, and that is going to be consisted of darker skinned people, with the exception of Stephen Allen Benson. If you look at prior to EJ Roye's presidency, all four of them were Republicans. Most of them were mulattoes. You could say close to white. Joseph Jenkins Roberts, Daniel Bashir Warner, and James Fix Payne were all light skinned. Stephen Allen Benson is the exception. And most of their wives were light skinned and mulattoes anyway. So when EJ Roye gets into office, it's speculated that his wife is the first wife or the first lady to be of pure African descent, and she's dark skinned. When he's elected in 1869, so when he takes office in 1869, that really motivates a lot of darker skinned Liberians, like his economic success. And it must also be noted that a lot of the darker skinned Liberians were relegated to the outskirts of Monrovia. So they often were in Clay Ashland, um, New Georgia, Virginia, Arlington. They oftentimes worked in agriculture, had, sugar sugar plantations where they grew sugar. Um, that's really what darker skinned people were relegated to. And so he goes into office and he has a completely different approach. He wants to work with the indigenous people. Of course, the other ones wanted to work with the indigenous people, but he wants to take it up a notch. He wants to educate them. He wants them to become more part of the government. He wants to even build a railroad to connect to the hinterland. And he wants to, you know, create a Pan-African spirit. And he also works with Edward Wilmot Blyden, who surprisingly is going to run as a Republican in the 1880s later on down in the Liberian presidential series. So we're gonna get to why for some reason he ran as being part of the Republican Party, but that's another video. So when EJ Roy's in office, he wants to do all this stuff for the indigenous people. He also wants to settle the dispute with Sierra Leone. At this time, Sierra Leone is a colony, and of course, his previous predecessor, James Spriggs Payne, had to siege the schooner, seized a boat from the British, and so EJ Roye has to settle that. That was the ship issue, but the border dispute is going to continue all the way into 1880s later in the Liberian presidential series. So that is going on as well. You also have a situation of trying to get finances. So in this time, EJ Roye goes to England to secure a bank loan, to try to see if he can build the railroads and build infrastructure. He's supposed to get 150,000 dollars at this time, which was a lot of money back then. He only gets 90,000 of it, and it's 7%. He said like a 7% discount. That is what they said. So he only gets about 60% of the money. Now it was negotiated with William S. Anderson, Hillary R.W. Johnson, who later becomes a president, and of course, in the consul general. But he only gets only 60% of the money, and this is going to be used as ammo and fuel for the Republican Party. So the Republican Party basically blames him for only get this much amount of money, and they fear it's going to affect Liberia's sovereignty because if they're not able to, get all this money that's needed to actually build up the infrastructure and make a worthy investment, then of course, that could make a huge, you know, trap later on down the road when Britain wants to, annex the territory, and they can use the loan as an excuse to why they need to basically colonize Liberia to pay back that loan. So that situation happens, and of course the Republicans are mad. But what really sets them off, the Republicans, is when he wants to change the presidential terms from 2 years to 4 years. So before he is in office, the first four presidents were strictly 2 terms. They just won multiple. So Joseph Jenkins Roberts won 4 of them. Stephen Allen Benson won 4 of them. Daniel Bashir Warner won 2 of them. And James Fitz Payne only won 1. So it's 2 years. Now, the Republicans, the hypocrisy that they have is they want to keep James Briggs Payne in office, but they're not able to. They're not able to. And so EJ Roye gets the presidency. Now that he's won, and now that he's almost at the end of his term, he wants to expand it from 2 years to 4 years. And he says in the Constitution that based on his election in 1869, he can do it. That it's constitutionally viable to change it from 2 years to 4 years. Now remember, the Republicans want to keep James Fitz Payne in, but they're unable to do so. So basically, they hold a referendum in 1871, to try to see, if this constitutional amendment can pass. It does pass. I think it passed the House, but it doesn't pass through the Senate. So therefore, it doesn't really happen. But this is going to be justification, basically, for what some people you could consider the first coup to happen in Liberia. So basically, EJ Roye is deposed up in October 26th using this excuse, a coup d'etat. Some speculate that he drowned trying to swim to a British ship. Some people said that he died in prison. Some people said a mulatto man shot and killed him. But basically, he's deposed, basically ran out of Liberia. His wife says that they beat him, they drug him through the streets and left him to die. And so that basically happens. Now, it's said that he died in 1872. But we know in 1871 he's deposed, and then James Briggs Payne is his vice president, serves out the remaining 2 years before Joseph Jenkins Roberts is elected into office. So EJ Roye tried to do a lot. He had a vision. He was successful. But, because of colorism, it really prevented his full dream from becoming true. I think that if EJ Roye serves out his entire term, he's able to really build that railroad and really transform Liberia into becoming a global power. He did make the statement that Liberia was destined to be, the champion of the black race and should be ruled by pure Africans. The Ohio Historical Society calls him like Ohio's lost president. So that shows the Liberia's connection to the U.S. And he's, like I said, he's sometimes referred to as Lincoln of Liberia because of his revolutionary mindset. So I hope this was an informative video. Let me know what you guys think about the Liberian presidential series. Are y'all learning anything new? Do y'all enjoy this series? Do y'all want me to bring out the content faster and do more of it? Let me know what you guys think.